The big story.
We're coming on the air this hour with breaking news. President Biden has just pardoned his son Hunter on gun and tax charges that he was facing. The president reversed his previous position. He had long said that he would not pardon Hunter, expressing faith in the justice system and the rule of law. President Biden was emphatic, telling our David Muir this summer that he would not pardon his son when he was directly asked.
Joe Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter Biden. And
when you look at Donald Trump and how the Democrats went after him, you do understand that the Democrats are no longer in a position to say anything, right? You can talk till the cows come home. You're whistling into the wind. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say right now. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your party.
Stephen A. Smith, as he always does, gave a heated take. Smith, an independent, really, and I mean really hated it.
Because when you pardon your son, going back on your word, telling the American people there was no way that you were going to pardon him when everybody and their grandmama knew you were lying but didn't hold you accountable for it. And now you've confirmed what people believed, that you were probably going to be lying about that very thing that you said you wouldn't do for your son. All you had to do was say, he's my son. I can't let him go to jail. What's the matter with y'all? Do I got to act like Dana Carvey from Saturday Night Live? And another thing, and by the way, is that what I got to do? All you had to do was say, that's my son. I'm not sending him to jail. I have the power to pardon him and to bring him home with me when I walk away from the White House, ending my political career. I'm taking my son home with me. Everybody would understand that. That wasn't good enough for you.
Let's take a break from the action here. Mehdi Hasan had a really good take on democracy. Now, here's part of that.
Should the presidency be used to protect family members? No. I think we can all agree on those points. Having said that, the kind of outrage from Republicans and some in the media is a little bit kind of ridiculous. We all know that Hunter Biden was targeted. The president is right when he says that they went after his son because he was his son. Anyone called Hunter Smith wouldn't have been prosecuted in the same way for the tax evasion and the gun form that many people get wrong or provide incorrect information on. And as for the Republicans kind of crying foul right now, you have Kash Patel. I know we're going to talk about Kash Patel, who is a Trump toady who's about to be appointed FBI director if he can get through the Senate. He's on record saying he's going to go after the Bidens. The Republicans have made very clear they plan to carry on going after the Biden family. So is it understandable that Joe Biden is trying to protect his son from future investigations? It is understandable. That doesn't make it right.
Another great take. You wouldn't be that surprised, would you?
In the past 24-hour news cycle, the media has yelled at Joe Biden for his hypocrisy and his violations of institutional norms in this Hunter Biden situation than they have for the past 12 months, 14 months over his direct violation of international human rights and American rules that dictate that you cannot give weapons to an ally that is violating human rights. Israel has done that, and we have consistently continued to give Israel weapons, unlimited amounts of weapons. Biden recently secured $680 million of weapons, or 280? Another $600 million to Israel on his way out. He's still doing it. He did that literally 4 days ago, 5 days ago. Despite the fact that there is countless amounts of evidence, not just from NGOs and international organs of justice, but also evidence directly from the State Department that shows Israel is violating human rights by refusing humanitarian aid to reach a civilian population that it is currently in a bombing campaign over, that is currently genociding. That, to me, is insane. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I feel like that is significant. That is infinitely more significant than like pardoning your own son. And yet, it is yet another glaringly obvious inconsistency in the way that our media operates. Another glaringly obvious inconsistency in the way that our State Department operates, in the way that Americans in positions of power interpret hypocrisy or violations of the rules. Biden has been a serial violator of the rules.
So look, being honest here, and I have more to play from Mehdi Hassan and a few others, but it's this. Haas put it into terms that I wish I could, which is the grand hypocrisy of it all, right? Like, it's the hypocrisy of watching a genocide every single bleeping day from our phones. We see it from our phones, TikTok after TikTok, right? Post after post, unless you ignore it. I mean, then I guess the algorithm learns that you don't care. And you see all these people pleading, skip me and you kill me. Please, please share. Please boost it. And they are asking for a level of humanity and empathy that should not be hard for folks to give, but apparently it is. You see the destruction behind them. You see the ruins behind them. And for some reason, that is pushed to the back burner here. We do not, as a society, care enough about these people. And yet, as Haas points out, which I 1,000,000% agree with, we don't talk about that anymore on CNN. We don't talk about it on MSNBC. We don't talk about it on NBC. We don't talk about it on Fox. We don't talk about it on News Nation. I guess you could add in there. We don't talk about it on ABC. We simply see snippets from independent creators on the ground and independent journalists who are still alive on the ground. And this is an indictment of our media. And it's also why so many news topics came about on Kamala Harris picks all the smoke and Donald Trump picks bussing with the boys. It's because people have lost trust. It's an indictment on mainstream media that this is wall-to-wall coverage. And look, is it a news story? 1,000% yes. Is it layered? Yes. But what I also think is the story is in the details, that they are involuntarily or indirectly manufacturing consent by not talking about what Haas brought up and talking about the Hunter Biden story and other stuff for us to forget, for it to not be talked about, for us to not talk about it as a society. And when we look at the numbers of how many people have a distrust for mainstream news, I'm not surprised. I don't think anybody can be totally surprised, because when our country's media acts in this way, which is diabolical, to allow more people to die so they could keep sending weapons to an ally, it has to be called out. So what Haas is saying is 1,000,000% accurate. On another note,
Charles Kushner is about to become ambassador to France. He is the father-in-law of Ivanka Trump, who Trump pardoned in December 2020. So, let's just get rid of the presidential pardon power, which would require a constitutional amendment. I think that's the source of all the corruption.
And of course, as we talk about pardons, I mean, it would be very interesting to see President Biden, very significant pardon, for example, Leonard Peltier, or talk about pardons or commutations for people on federal death row. Biden himself has said he's against the death penalty.
You've got about 40 people, I believe, still on the federal death row. Yes, pardon them now, because we remember when Donald Trump was leaving office last time, he actually escalated executions at the federal level at a rate we hadn't seen before.
even Jon Stewart got in on the fun. He would say the problem is the rest of the Dems made Biden's pledge to not pardon Hunter Biden the foundation of their defense of America, this grand experiment, which they did. One network rolled the tape and showed over and over again how each and every Dem would say there's no chance that he gets a pardon. And then he did. Stewart would go on to say, as transcribed by The Guardian, the Dems made this case an example of why Americans should believe in our system. And it's hard. Dems have the tougher road of defending our institutions and systems as being flawed but still valuable. Republicans just run on blowing this blank up. But at every turn, Dems keep getting caught creating a purity test for a system that they can't seem to pass themselves. Very well put. In closing, via Stewart, he would cite the Dems using loopholes and rules and norms to their strategic political gains. Quote, the distance between the system Dems say they are revering and the one that they're using when they need to is why people think it's rigged. Use the rules, use the loopholes, use the norms, but also use it to help the people, not just those people related to you. All of us are somebody's son or somebody's daughter, and we all need that break too. Certainly. And that is the dilemma for so many voters, is that they see Republicans don't care. Look at what they tried to do. Look at what they're about to do. They don't care about institutions. They want to blow up the institutions. Dems say they still believe in the institutions, though they have allowed them to be blown up. And they have allowed hypocrisy to ensue. More from Haas.
It's crazy. Now, before people say, oh, well, Hassan, Donald Trump did this. Yeah, I know, dude. I know he did. One, I don't give a shit that Joe Biden did this. I can't stress this enough. Of course he was going to do this. Get the fuck out of here. Number two, I do give a shit that Donald Trump did it, okay? Because the stuff that Donald Trump did this for, the pardon powers that he used, was for like fucking murderers, okay? For people who have done unimaginably bad things. Like, he specifically went in and pushed the military to no longer prosecute a war criminal. You know how hard it is for the Marines or for the American military to go, yeah, this guy was a little bit too crazy. You know how hard that is with Eddie Gallagher? You know how hard it is for the American military to go, yeah, this one guy may be a little bit too crazy. His own unit narked on him. The only thing I'm upset about it is that, like, Democrats don't use this kind of like Democrats don't use this kind of like obvious grift and hypocrisy and abuse or you know, the misuse of power that you have for anything good. And I despise that. I hate that they don't do that. It's very frustrating to me. And I wish they did it for like actually good things. He should do this for broad clemency. Like, he should do that.
He also broke down the pardons there that Trump gave as opposed to Joseph Robinette Biden. So if we're being clear about this, I will give Republicans this. When they say they are going to do something, they do it. And they pull every lever that they possibly can, even installing artificial levers to get their job done. They are aggressive in doing so. Hate their policy. Hate the people that they have in government. But when they say they're going to do something, they do it. And they don't care who they piss off. Whereas the Dems, what you are seeing is the next era of the electorate not believe in them. And it's fairly obvious why.